Good day, everyone. Today, we will discuss to you the essentials of survey for our research study. I, Faith Janica Q. Coloso, together with Giselle V. Sedanyo, as the reporters from 3BSDMA, aims to discuss to you the Chapter 7 of the subject Research in Development Management. Our objectives are to understand what survey is, when, and how to use it, to describe the methods of the collecting survey data, the characteristics and classifications of a survey, and to explain the steps in conducting a survey. So what is survey? The survey is probably the most commonly used research design in health services and the social sciences. We have all been asked to take part in a survey at some time. As consumers, we are asked about our shopping habits, and as users of services, we are asked for our opinions of services. The survey is a flexible research approach used to investigate a wide range of topics. Surveys often employ the questionnaire as a tool for data collection. So, survey is a type of research strategy to study the relationships and characteristics of a certain issue and collect its data and facts. The data gathered from the target population should have the relevance to the nature of study. Upon using a survey, it can have internal and external validity. A survey which is based on some form of random sampling technique will produce a sample which is representative of the particular population under study and will produce findings which may be generalized to the wider population. Randomized clinical trials, or RCTs, on the other hand, often have very stringent inclusion and exclusion criteria, which make the generalizations of the findings very difficult to apply in the real world. Using survey are efficient because surveys can use a random sampling technique to recruit participants. Relatively, small sample sizes can be used to generate findings which can be used to draw conclusions about the whole population. They are thus a very cost-effective way of finding out what people do, think, and want. Surveys can cover geographically spread samples because it can be undertaken using a wide range of techniques including postal questionnaires and telephone interviews. This means that participants who are widely dispersed can be accessed and included in the sample. Surveys may have ethical advantages since most surveys do not expose individuals to possibly invasive techniques or withhold treatment. They may be considered more ethical since the individuals included in a study will be merely exposed to the events that occur in the real world and would have taken place anyway. Surveys are flexible because it can easily be combined with other methods to produce richer data. So for instance, you might want to consider also using diaries, focus groups, or in-depth interviews. So, what are the topics that is usually investigated by a survey in a research study? One of these is the attitude and opinion. For example, the older people's feelings and reaction about extending retirement age. Another one is the behavior. Like for example, you as a researcher wanted to know the extensiveness of household recycling. Another topic that was commonly investigated is the motivation. For some instance, there was a public meeting conducted to your place, and you wanted to know the reason why they held it. Emotions are one of the common topics in a survey. Researchers were investigating these topics such as the level of stress or anxiety of a group. Satisfaction are also one of the main topics in doing a survey. For example, the customer's experience in buying air fryers and their level of satisfaction upon using it. Surveys has 7 characteristics. Upon using survey, it is widely used in social sciences. Its systematic characteristics follow specific procedures based on survey science and the scientific method. Survey is replicable when other people using the same methods are likely to get essentially the same results. Survey types are usually administered via interviews and questionnaires. The data of the survey is often quantitative but can be also qualitative. The impartial sampling is selected from target population without preference to be representative. Its ecological validity can obtain in situation real-world samples. Survey can be classified in three different ways: the time, purpose, and methods of collecting data. Giselle will discuss to you the types of survey according to its classification.
Hello, good day. I am Giselle Vicedeño from 3BS-DMA. I will discuss to you the classification of survey research about time, which is first, the cross-sectional, where the data collected at one point from a selected sample to represent a larger population. The second is the longitudinal. A longitudinal survey, rather than taking a snapshot, paint a picture of events or attitudes over time. This may be a matter of months or years. There may be only two discrete surveys, or there may be repeated waves over a long time of period. Longitudinal surveys usually take one of three forms: the trend, cohort, and panel. Trend take repeated sample to different people each time but always use the same core questions. Cohort are particularly useful in tracking the progress of particular condition over time, whereas trend studies set out to measure trends in public opinion and behavior over time. Panel are collection of data and various time points with the same sample of respondents. The classification of survey research has two broad purposes: the information gathering and theory testing and building. Information gathering's goal is to gather and collect information, for example, polls, census, customer satisfaction, and attitudes. While the theory testing and building's goal is to test and build a theory, for example, personality and social psychology theories. The information gathering can be descriptive and exploratory, and theory testing and building can be explanatory and predictive. Faith will discuss to you what is exploratory, descriptive, explanatory, and predictive.
Exploratory's purpose is to discover and explore psychological phenomena. For example, what issues were experienced by the survivors of natural disaster? While descriptive's purpose is to describe the phenomena, like, for example, consumers' profile by determining their age and gender, or the working conditions of call center agents by determining the number of hours in their pay. Explanatory's purpose is to explain the phenomena by looking at the relations between patterns among variables. For example, are extroverts happier than introverts? Why or why not? Predictive's purpose is to be able to make accurate and useful predictions and often relies on the question, what will happen? For example, does a couple's length of time together prior to having children predict relationship satisfaction after having a children? There are three methods in collecting survey data: the face-to-face interview, telephone interviews, and the mailed questionnaires. Face-to-face interview, also called as personal interview, is a form of questioning characterized by the fact that it employs verbal questioning. Together with the questionnaire, interview make up the survey method by collecting the information through a personal communication with a respondent and is also the most popular technique of data collection. Mailed questionnaires are self-administered surveys sent via mail. It is also an important method of survey collection, and it involves sending a cover letter and a questionnaire to a specific person. Telephone interviews demonstrates the same structural characteristics as standard interviewing technique. Its informations are gathered while communicating over the telephone. These methods has also the advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages of face-to-face interview is its flexibility in questioning. It can control the interview situation, also has high response rate and has collection of supplement data. The disadvantages of using face-to-face interview is that it has higher cost rate. Respondents may also hesitate to answer sensitive topics. It also requires greater staff to support and achieve this kind of method. Giselle will discuss to you the advantages and disadvantages of telephone interviews and mailed questionnaires.
The advantages of using telephone interview are moderate cost, less time consumption, higher response rate and quality such as supervision and recording, while its disadvantages are limited reach, limited duration when calling and no visual to provide. Using mailed questionnaire can take the advantage of less time consuming, reduction and biasing the errors and it is accessible. Its disadvantages are lack of speed, has low response rate and can get high cost at provision of incentives and follow-ups. There are 6 steps in processing survey research. The first step is you have to develop hypothesis, decide on type and method of collecting survey data. Write survey questions, decide on response categories, design layout. The second step is you have to plan how to record data. Pilot test the survey instrument and then revise the instrument. The third step, you have to decide on your target population. Get each sampling frame and decide on it. After that, select a sample. The fourth step is to locate your respondents, conduct to them an interview, and carefully record the data you gathered from them. The fifth step is to encode the data you gathered, recheck it, and perform a statistical analysis from the data you gathered.
The sixth step in processing survey research is to describe methods and findings in research reports. The findings gathered will be presented to others for critique and evaluation. Sampling is a tool that is used to indicate how much data to collect and how often it should be collected. This tool defines the samples to take in order to quantify a system, process, issue, or problem. To illustrate sampling, consider a loaf of bread. How good is the bread? To find it out, is it necessary to eat the whole loaf? No, of course not. To make a judgment about the entire loaf, it is necessary only to taste a sample of the loaf, such as a slice. In this case, the loaf of bread being studied is known as the population of the study. The sample, the slice of bread, is a subset or a part of the population. In the bakery example, bread is made in an ongoing process. That is, bread was made yesterday, throughout the day, and will be made tomorrow. For an ongoing process, samples need to be taken to identify how the process is changing over time. Studying how the samples are changing with control charts will show where and how to improve the process and will allow prediction of future performances. For example, the bakery is interested in the weight of the loaves. The bakery does not want to weigh every single loaf, as this would be too expensive, too time consuming, and no more accurate than sampling some of the loaves. Sampling for improvement and monitoring is a matter of taking small samples frequently over time. The questions now become how many loaves to weigh each time a sample is taken, how often to collect a sample. These two questions, how much and how often, are at the heart of sampling. So when to use sampling? Sampling is used anytime data is to be gathered. Data cannot be collected until the sample size and the sample frequency have been determined. Sampling should be periodically reviewed. When data is being collected on a regular basis to monitor a system or process, the frequency and size of the sample should be reviewed periodically to ensure that it is still appropriate. Why do we need to select a sample? To indicate how much data to collect and to know how often it should be collected. How sampling can be done? First, we should determine the question being asked. Before collecting any data, it is essential to define clearly what information is required. It is easy to waste time and resources collecting either the wrong data or not collecting enough information at the time of data collection. Try to anticipate questions that will be asked when analyzing the data. Second, we should determine the frequency of sampling. The frequency of sampling refers to how often a sample should be taken. A sample should be taken at least as often as the process is expected to change. Examine all factors that are expected to cause change and identify one that changes most frequently. Sampling must occur at least as often as the most frequently changing factor in the process. Common frequencies of sampling are hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. Although frequency is usually stated in time, it can be also stated in number. For example, every 10th part, every 5th purchase order, every other invoice, and so many more. If it is not clear how frequently the process changes, collect data frequently, examine the results, and then set the frequency accordingly. Third, we should determine the actual frequency. The purpose of this step is to state the actual time to take the samples. For instance, if the frequency were determined to be daily, what time of day should the sample be taken? In the morning at 8 a.m. around midday or late in the day around 5 p.m. This is important because inconsistent timing between data gathering times will lead you to data that is unreliable for further analysis. The data will exhibit unusual patterns and will be less meaningful. Stating the time that the sample is to be taken will reduce the type of error. The actual time should be chosen as close to any expected changes in the process as possible, and when taking a sample will be convenient. Avoid difficult times such as during a shift change or lunch break. Selecting a sample size is the number of items to be examined at the same time. When doing calculations, sample size is denoted by the letter N. To choose the most appropriate subgroup size, determine first whether the data being collected is variables data or attributes data. In sampling, the data should be gathered describes the attitude, opinion, beliefs, behavior, attributes, and preferences. It will be measured by using random sampling techniques. It has two types of methods, the probability and non-probability sampling. The probability sampling is a sampling technique where a researcher sets a selection of few criteria and chooses members of a population randomly. All the members have an equal opportunity to be a part of the sample with this selection parameter, while the non-probability sampling is the researcher chooses members for research at random. This sampling method is not a fixed or predefined selection process. This makes it difficult for all elements of a population to have equal opportunities to be included in the sample. Probability sampling has four types. First is the simple random sampling. It is a reliable method of obtaining information where every single member of a population is chosen randomly. Each individual has the same probability of being chosen to be a part of a sample. Second, the systematic random sampling. It chooses the sample members of a population at irregular intervals. It requires the selection of a starting point for the sample and sample sizes that can be repeated at regular intervals. This type of sampling method has a predefined range and hence this sampling technique is the least time consuming. Third is the stratified random sampling. It is a method in which the researcher divides the population into smaller groups that don't overlap but represent the entire population. While sampling, these groups can be organized and then draw a sample from each group separately. Last is the cluster sampling. It is a method where the researchers divide the entire population into sections or clusters that present a population. Clusters are identified and included in a sample based on demographic parameters like age, gender, location, and so many more. This makes it very simple for a survey creator to derive effective interference from the feedback. In non-probability sampling, there are two types. First is the quota sampling. In this sampling, it happens based on a preset standard. In this case, as a sampling is formed based on specific attributes, the created sample will have the same qualities found in the total population. It is a rapid method of collecting samples. The second one is the convenience sampling. This method is independent on the ease of access to subject as surveying customers at a mall or passers-by on a busy street. The researchers is of carrying it out and getting in touch with the subjects. Researchers have nearly no authority to select the sample elements, and it's purely done based on proximity and not representativeness. This non-probability sampling method is used when there are time and cost limitations in collecting feedback. In situations where there are resource limitations, such as the initial stages of research, convenience sampling is used.
Questionnaire is defined as a document containing questions and other types of items designed to solicit information appropriate for analysis. The questionnaire may be regarded as a form of an interview on paper. Procedure for the construction of a questionnaire follows a pattern similar to that interview schedule. However, because the questionnaire is impersonal, it is all important to take care of its construction. Since there is no interviewer to explain ambiguities or to check misunderstandings, the questionnaire must be especially clear in its working. The variety of possible answers to each question must be anticipated more fully than for an interview. It is important the questionnaire is self-completed, knows the literacy level of the respondent, should expect response rate with available resources, and know well the topic and population interest. The questionnaire has three structures. First, cover letter must have these details: the main objectives and its social significance in the study, the research team and its sponsors, the reason why respondents should complete or answer the questionnaire, assurance of anonymity and confidentiality, and the issues related to ethics. It is crucial to include instruction on the questionnaire in terms of ticking boxes, circling number, or allocating priority order to a list. If you are doing a postal survey or a questionnaire for self-completion, you will need clear instruction for the respondent. Alternatively, if using interviewers, you will need to provide them with instruction in terms of filtering and what to do read out. Also, you have to remind them the ethics and request to the respondent as much as possible not to please the researcher. The main body must have the questions including from the study. Take note for the content, structure, format, flow, and wording of a questionnaire so that you can deliver it clearly and understandable. The general model of the questionnaire provides some guidelines on how questions should be placed. It should have size. It should be smaller in size than that of the schedule. The extent and length and breadth should be appropriate. It should not be more than 2 or 3 pages as to the nature of the research. Appearance. It should be constructed on a good quality paper and printing. It should have an attractive layout. Clarity. The question should be short, clear in terms, tenor, and expression. Sequence. The question should be arranged according to the importance and preference. Communicability. The questions of the questionnaire should be able to keep the interest of the respondents. Span. The length of the questions of the questionnaire should be as short as possible. The questionnaire should not be long in length. In order to produce good questions in a questionnaire, consider these characteristics and general rules of crafting a questions. Clear objective, simple language, clear concepts, without bias, adequate answer options, shorter questions, the single questions at a time, affirmative sentences, mathematics not imposed, short, clear, reference periods, avoid questions reference.